Researchers at Princeton ran an experiment in 2013 that changed how we think about money. They took a group of people, half poor, half comfortable, and gave them identical cognitive tests. The comfortable group scored normally. The poor group? Their brains performed as if they'd lost an entire night of sleep. Not because they were less intelligent, not because they lacked education. Their brains were literally being taxed by the stress of not having enough money. The researchers measured the damage, a 13-point drop in IQ. That's the gap between average and borderline deficient. Now here's the part nobody talks about. That cognitive damage, it's completely reversible. There's a financial number where your brain switches off survival mode, stops bleeding IQ points, and starts actually thinking about building wealth. And that number is not $1 million. It's not even six figures. It's $20,000. To understand why $20,000 changes everything, you first need to understand what being broke actually does to your brain. And I don't mean it's stressful. I mean it physically changes how your brain processes information. Sindhil Mulanathan at Harvard and Eldar Shafir at Princeton spent years studying this. They wrote an entire book called Scarcity about it. Their core finding is this: when you don't have enough money, your brain enters a state they call tunneling. It narrows your focus to only the most immediate financial threats. Rent is due Friday. The car payment bounced. The phone bill is overdue. Your brain becomes an air traffic controller in an emergency, routing every available resource toward preventing the next crash. That sounds useful, except it comes at a devastating cost. While your brain is firefighting, it pulls resources away from the parts responsible for long-term planning, impulse control, and creative problem-solving. It's not a metaphor. These researchers measured it. Financial stress consumes so much mental bandwidth that it's cognitively equivalent to losing a full night of sleep. You're making every important decision in your life, career moves, relationship decisions, health choices, with a brain running at reduced capacity. And the worst part? You don't feel it happening. You just feel like you're bad with money. Now here's where the research gets hopeful. The same study tested farmers in India before and after harvest. Before harvest, when they were cash poor, their cognitive scores dropped. After harvest, when they had money in the bank, the same people scored significantly higher. The damage wasn't permanent. It wasn't about who they were, it was about what they had. So the question becomes, how much money do you need before your brain stops operating in emergency mode? Vanguard published research in 2025 based on a survey of over 12,400 investors. They found that emergency savings are the single strongest predictor of financial well-being. Stronger than income, stronger than investment returns, stronger than being debt-free. And the numbers are specific. Having just $2,000 in emergency savings is linked to a 21% increase in financial well-being. That's the first threshold. It's the difference between "I literally cannot handle any surprise expense" and "I can absorb a small hit." But the real shift happens at the next level. Having 3 to 6 months of living expenses saved, that's where you get an additional 13% boost in well-being. For most working adults, 3 to 6 months of expenses lands somewhere around $10,000 to $25,000, depending on where you live and how you live. For the median American household, that's roughly $20,000. That's not a number I pulled from thin air. That's the zone where decades of financial psychology research says your brain fundamentally changes how it operates. And here's the context that makes this even more striking. According to the Federal Reserve's 2024 survey, 37% of Americans cannot cover a $400 emergency expense. The median emergency savings balance? $600. That means most people are operating well below even the $2,000 threshold, let alone $20,000. Most people are making every major life decision with a brain that's running at a significant cognitive deficit, not because they're bad with money, because they haven't crossed the line yet. Here's where this stops being psychology and starts being pure mathematics. Let's say you're saving $1,000 a month and investing it at an 8% annual return in a basic index fund. Nothing exotic, nothing risky, just a standard S&P 500 index fund. Your first $20,000 takes 19 months, almost a year and a half of disciplined saving. That's the hard part. That's the part where most people quit. Your second $20,000? 17 months. You shaved 2 months off the timeline without changing anything about your behavior. Same savings rate, same job, same salary. But now your first $20,000 is generating returns alongside your contributions. Your third $20,000? 15 months. By the time you've hit $60,000, each new dollar is arriving faster than the last, and this acceleration never stops. It only gets more dramatic. At $400,000, your investments are generating the equivalent of a new $20,000 roughly every 5 months. Automatically, while you sleep. This is compound interest doing what it does. But the critical insight is that it doesn't feel like it's working until you hit that first $20,000. Before that point, your returns are invisible. An 8% return on $3,000 is $240 in a year. You can't even feel that. An 8% return on $20,000 is $1,600. That's a month's rent for a lot of people. That's when the number on the screen starts growing in a way that actually registers. That's when saving transforms from painful sacrifice to this thing is actually working. And this is why the first $20,000 is psychologically so important for wealth building. It's the minimum amount where compound interest becomes visible to you. Below that line, you're saving on faith. Above it, you're saving with evidence. Now I want to talk about something that doesn't show up in any compound interest calculator, but might be the most valuable part of having $20,000 saved. It changes the way you work. When you're living paycheck to paycheck, your employer has all the leverage. You can't negotiate your salary because you can't afford to lose the job. You can't push back on unreasonable demands because walking away isn't an option. You can't take a risk on a better opportunity because you need next Friday's deposit to clear. $20,000 sitting in a savings account doesn't just earn interest. It earns you options. At $3,000 a month in expenses, that's almost 7 months of runway. 7 months to find a better job. 7 months to start something on the side. 7 months of not having to say yes to things that make you miserable. And here's the counterintuitive part. You almost never have to actually use it. The mere fact that you could walk away changes your entire posture. You ask for the raise because the worst case is they say no. You set boundaries because you're not desperate. You take the meeting with the recruiter because you're curious, not terrified. This isn't theory. Anyone who's experienced both sides of this will tell you, knowing you can leave is the single most powerful thing you can bring to a negotiation. The Vanguard research backs this up from a different angle. They found that workers without emergency savings are 4 times more likely to be distracted at work by financial stress. 4 times. These are people sitting at their desks, technically working, but mentally calculating whether they can afford groceries this week. That's not just a personal problem. It's a performance problem. And the person who solved it, who has that $20,000 buffer, shows up differently. More focused, more confident, more willing to take on the projects that lead to promotions. The savings fund the career improvement. The career improvement funds more savings. The loop accelerates. Now here's the part I have to be honest with you about, because there's a trap that kills this momentum and most people walk straight into it. You hit $20,000, you feel the psychological shift. The stress melts off your shoulders. And then your brain does something really sneaky. It says, "You've earned this. You deserve a reward." The reward is always something expensive. A new car, a vacation you can't quite afford, a down payment that stretches your budget to the breaking point. Let me give you a number that should stop you in your tracks. According to AAA's 2025 study, the average annual cost of owning and operating a new car is $11,577. That's $965 every month. Over a 40-year working career, that's $463,000 in total car spending. But that's not even the real cost. If you invested that $965 per month at 8% over those same 40 years, you'd have over $3.2 million. Read that again. The difference between driving a new car every few years and driving a reliable used car is potentially millions of dollars in retirement wealth. The person in the flashy car isn't wealthy. They're performing wealth while actually destroying it. I'm not saying never buy a nice car or never go on vacation. I'm saying don't do it with your first $20,000. That money isn't a reward, it's a foundation. It's the seed that makes everything else possible. Spend it now and you're not just losing $20,000, you're losing the compound interest it would have generated, the cognitive clarity it gives you, the career leverage it provides, and the months of work it took to build the habit in the first place. The discipline that got you to $20,000 is the real asset. The money is just proof that the discipline is real. Look, $20,000 isn't going to make you rich tomorrow, but it will do something more valuable. It will switch your brain from survival mode to building mode. It'll make compound interest visible. It'll give you leverage at work you didn't know was possible. And it'll prove to you, with hard evidence, that you're the kind of person who can build wealth. The median American has $600 in emergency savings. If you're watching this and you've got more than that, you're already ahead. If you haven't started yet, the math doesn't care when you begin. It only cares that you do. If this changed how you think about your savings goal, hit subscribe. I make videos that help you understand the real mechanics behind building wealth. Not the motivational nonsense, not the get-rich-quick garbage, the actual research and math behind how money works. I'll see you in the next one.